culture that's equally valuable.
Hello, everybody.
Hello, I'm Franny Knight.
And I'm Damon Patterson.
And this is
the
KC Dev Report. And we are on episode number 14. And this is on the Paseo High School stairs. So why are we doing this show? What is it that grabbed you?
Well, first, we do this particular show or this podcast because, one, we're not developers. We always say that. We're not developers yet. And we love Kansas City, and we love to learn about Kansas City and we like to learn about what's happening in Kansas City, especially concerning new developments. And the show gives us a chance to learn about new development, but more importantly, to share what we learn about development. Now, this particular show, episode 14, we're doing, I thought was interesting because a lot of the shows we talk about, inspiring people to be developers or get involved with projects that are happening in Kansas City. And I thought it was a good example of kind of a grassroots project in Kansas City. And that's why it really kind of stuck with me, because I thought, we see a lot of developments that are, 50 million, 100 million, 200 million, 300 million, $25 million from really large investment firms or groups that have pretty much all their developments are multi-million dollar developments and are about, huge profits and returns and investments in banks and that kind of thing. And I thought this was a really cool project from kind of like the underdogs perspective and grassroots, like what people can do when they just have vision and they're willing to communicate that vision and find other people to get behind that vision. So that's kind of why I really liked the project. It was a good underdog.
Yeah. Good underdog.
Yeah.
And there's, again, you really do gravitate well, Damon, to history, things of history kind of re-showing themselves into development. I think that's another piece we've been talking about.
Yeah.
That's really kind of cool.
Yeah.
Definitely the smaller nature of it, the more grassroots, I think is pretty cool. I also found out, as Damon and I were talking about the show, because it's the Paseo High School stairs, and the main group that started was the alumni of Paseo High School. Chris Good is one of the alumni, and Damon is a Paseo High School alumni. So I didn't know that about you. So that was kind of cool.
Theater.
I mean, and so in a way, because we're, if you watched our last episode or last couple of episodes, we've been talking about loving the name Paris of the Plains as a potential part of what we're doing. Just the arts and fashion and film and all that comes into it. So this is a great development project because it is connected to the arts, the Paseo Art School. So so let's back up a little bit and talk about the history of this stairs. I thought it's such a, I will have to say that it is an interesting um, development project. Like, how often do you have historic stairs
You don't.
as part of a development project,
don't.
right? Like, that's like the center of it.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that's really cool.
Yeah. And what's really cool about it is prior to Chris and everybody that's involved with it now really taking it to the next level is the stairs kind of they have a life of their own and they kind of been having a life of their own like people go there and exercise and meet up and run up and down them and it's kind of become like a meetup place for people just organically. And I think Chris being a alumni and some of the other people involved being alumni are aware of that and probably just wanted to pour some energy into that, and it's like, well, wow, this is cool. Let's take this further. I can kind of see that them knowing that, if people, especially people who are not just alumni, but people who are in that neighborhood, around that neighborhood, know, like people just meet up there at like 6 in the morning, 7 a.m., 8 a.m., 9 and exercise. It's just a thing,
That's very interesting.
So this kind of breathes life into that, which makes it really cool. And when we talk about the history, those are remnants from the old Paseo that was built in 1926. What's left of that old school from that old architecture of Kansas City schools. Those stairs are what's left over. So that's kind of interesting too.
That is. Yeah, that's very interesting. So, so if that's all that was left, so the school was obviously the school that's there now is newer.
Yeah, that's a new school.
And so the old school, like what happened to the old school?
So the old Paseo High School, which was built in 1926, which I also thought was interesting, it was built from limestone that was taken from that site. So where the school sits in that hill, there was limestone there and created that school. I thought that was interesting. But the former school, which was a 5-story
Can I just
building,
say something here real quick? A lot of houses were built that way in Kansas City too. They why we have so many limestone houses. It was in the ground everywhere.
Yeah.
And so it's like, let's just use this to build a house.
Yeah.
So that's
cool though.
Yeah. Yeah. And now limestone is rare. You can't get limestone hardly anywhere.
We used it.
And so people who want to tear down any houses, they're just silly because it's going to be worth a lot.
Yeah.
To leave it intact. But anyway, sorry, side issue.
Yeah. No, that was.
I'm not surprised by that.
So this old school, which was a 5-story building, it became a designated site and part of the Arts Magnet School and desegregation plan at the time. So it kind of just, in many ways, and there was a lot of students and alumni who fought, and they tried to urge city officials to choose historic preservation and keep the school and just renovate. But they lost that battle, which, and that alone is probably a podcast show all by itself, is what happened with desegregation in Kansas City and how many schools like Paseo were torn down, as just part of a movement, which is kind of funny, it's like, well, they could have kept the school. They could have, ended segregation and kept the school and renovated and had an arts magnet school, but they didn't. They chose to tear it down and go with a modern build, and all we have left from that is those stairs, which is really interesting to me.
Yeah, very much so. So, I want to come back to how did it get its name, because the architect
Mm-hmm.
who built the school and the first school and the stairs, is I didn't know this architect, and wow, he built a lot of buildings in Kansas City that are some still standing, and a lot of the schools,
Yeah.
right? So Charles,
Charles A. Smith.
right?
So the name Paseo, Paseo High School, and now Paseo Performing Arts Academy, it comes from Paseo Boulevard, which it's part of our last show. We talked about the City Beautiful movement and George Kessler. So it's all connected. It's kind of weird. Like the Kansas City's Parkway and Boulevard system was designed by George Kessler and inspired by the City Beautiful movement under the direction of August Meyer, which was the first president of the Commission of Parks. So that's, it's all connected in that architecture that gets that French influence again, which is the boulevard and the parkway system and the parks connecting, and that Paseo got its name from that. And that was interesting when we were learning about this. Charles A. Smith designed Paseo in 1924. Now, interesting, Charles A. Smith was the official school board architect, and he designed pretty much all of the schools in Kansas City until he retired in 1936. And I didn't know that. I didn't know
that either.
I didn't know the school board had an official architect.
Yeah, I didn't either. And there's some beautiful schools.
Yeah.
Definitely. And when they started closing schools down here in Kansas City, I liked that the schools tried to keep most of them and repurpose them and sell them to other type of
use.
Groups. Yes,
Yeah.
use. I mean, they haven't done all of them, but like we usually are casting at the Plex Pod at the Westport High School.
Mm-hmm.
I wonder if he built that, if he designed that. Yeah.
Westport was, that was one of those schools.
Beautiful. Oh my God, just beautiful.
Pretty much any of those older, a lot of them were designed and built in the 1920s, 1930s, 1940s. So a lot of those schools would be 50, 60 years old, which is not old for a structure, really.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you think about stone structures, especially structures in Europe or somewhere. I mean,
right.
50, 60 years is not
several
that old.
Centuries,
Yeah. I mean, when you build with stone, it should be able to last that long.
Yeah.
Of course, you need to renovate along the way somewhere.
And preserve them, yes.
Yeah.
So he also, some of the other buildings that I did not realize he had was the architect for the Firestone building at 20th and Grand.
Yep, Firestone building.
Kansas City Club.
At 12th and Baltimore, the original Hertford Association building. Kansas City Municipal Airport.
And the library.
Yep.
That's
9th Street. I didn't know that.
Unity Temple. Wow, I just saw that.
Yep, I didn't know that.
That's beautiful.
The Fine Arts building on the UMKC campus. He did that. I didn't know that either.
I didn't either.
So he did quite a few, designed quite a few.
So toast to Charles A. Smith.
Yeah.
One of our historic architects that we're learning about, all the architects and landscape architects and city architects of building these things. So that's really cool.
Yeah.
Okay, so where are the stairs located?
The stairs sits between Flora Avenue and Paseo, right at 47th to 48th. So they're directly in front of what is now Paseo Performing Arts Academy.
Okay.
And you can see them if you are driving down Paseo. You can see those stairs. It says Paseo as well, right down the middle of them.
Okay, so what's the project? What are they doing? What's going on with it?
Okay, so the goal of the project is to create a free outdoor fitness destination and multi-purpose site. This includes resurfacing the steps with shock absorbing material, reinforcing the stone walls, solar lighting, public restrooms, a gathering space, climbing area, fitness track, fitness stations with strength training and cardio equipment, a veranda, a flat open lawns for activity or games, a walking trail, and more.
It's very cool.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. And while I'm right at this point, if anyone wants to see what that looks like, you can go to the paseostairs.com and you can click around there and see what those um, design drawings and renderings look like to actually see what it. I think it looks pretty cool, and it's a pretty cool development. I really like the trail is cool. A free outside fitness area is cool, but I really like the. If you look at the drawings, it looks like they call it a gathering space or for a place for people to come together, but it looks like a space to where you can have performances. And I really like that.
That's
idea.
very cool.
Yeah.
So is that the veranda part?
Yeah, it was the. Yeah, there's more than one that looks like you can
Okay.
have some type of performance space, but the one that looked like some step down stairs to where you could have some type of performance outside. I really like that
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
idea. I always love when developments have an outdoor performance element to it. I don't think we have enough of those.
No,
We need more of
we
those.
need more of those
If anyone's thinking about
developers
development,
out there.
more outdoor performance spaces.
So, so we already mentioned that the group that kind of started this was the alumni of Paseo Performing Arts School. Chris Good is one of the alumni. He seems to be one of the big spearheads of this. But there's a few others that I think are interesting. The Populous, which is one of our architect firms who mostly designs sports stadiums. So that kind of makes sense that they
sports stadiums, arenas, outdoor event spaces, that kind of deal, venues.
And so Bruce Miller, he's the managing director of the America's Populous, so he's behind this. And you can say the next person because I don't know.
Oh yeah, we have Mercedes Agron, which project management with Hallmark cards.
That's interesting, huh?
Yeah, well, Hallmark is
is
a Kansas City. It started here too, so that's
definitely. Cool. And City of Kansas City is behind it, right? And Rockhurst University.
Yep. Kansas City Public Schools.
I mean, and I know Rockhurst. I mean, they're close. They're in proximity to it. And this is just the beginning. Yeah. There may be other people joining up. Yeah. These are just the early developers and creators or supporters and partners in this. And Parks and Rec.
Yeah.
And Giha,
which we're just learning a lot about Giha. I mean.
So if those who are watching, type in do you know who Giha is? We'll see if anybody makes a comment. Mimi, do you know who Giha is?
We looked them up and it said they've been around for a really long time. And I've honestly just now started to hear about it. I think we were just driving by the stadium and it was like Giha. I was like, wait, Giha? I mean, okay, I don't know.
Giha. So they got the naming rights for Arrowhead Stadium, and they are the government employee health provider for federal employees. They provide health and medical insurance. They're a not-for-profit insurance provider, so that's very interesting that they're coming out a little bit with some PR around Kansas City. So we love. Hey, if you're out there listening to this now or later, and you work for Giha, especially in the PR department, we'd love to hear from you. Like, you guys are up to something. They're up to something,
Yeah,
which I think is cool.
they're on the scene
Yeah.
quick
Yes.
and shooting for it.
Yeah. So,
And that makes
you. I
sense
think it's great.
because it is a outdoor fitness destination, which is fitness is always directly connected to health. So
Yeah.
that
Right.
does make sense.
It does make sense. Yeah. And Ruby Jean's Juicery is Chris Good's company that if you guys haven't been there, you should go check it out on 30th and Troost. Okay, so those are the beginning partners, the ones kind of spearheading it. And so where are we in like what phase is this in?
So this is the definitely the early stages. So far, there's been a series of cleanup events that took place at the site. So far, 5 of those cleanup events have been held, and it's simply been volunteers getting together and removing trash and debris, cutting weeds, and just kind of overgrown um, weeds and getting rid of trash, basically. Populous officially made the project a pro bono project for the company, helping map out and develop it. So that's so far is what's been done, and Populous has began to create. If you go on that website, um, the Paseo Stairs, you can see um, those drawings or renderings, architectural renderings of what the site will look like as at a finished stage. So I think that's where we're at so far as stages.
And so since we're kind of early on, what do we know what the cost of this project is going to be?
We don't know what the total cost yet. I couldn't find that at the moment. I'm sure Populous may be helping um, with that. What that would cost. A lot of times it starts with a drawing and ideas, and then figuring out well, what's it going to cost to realize that drawing. So I know drawings are kind of first stages. So I didn't find a total cost yet. I did find that Giha donated towards it, and an initial 100,000 worth of services have been donated by Populous. Chris Good said that he requested PIAC funds and that he's waiting to get approved for that. So we don't know what the total cost is yet of the project.
Well, we might get a sense of what it might end up costing, somewhere in the ballpark of maybe $1 million because of the Mahomes Park.
Yeah.
That's not very far from there. That's just a playground.
Yeah.
A pretty cool playground. But
yeah, that's about
they said he
block or
donated
two
$1 million
from there.
Yeah, so this seems to be a little bit more involved and probably will cost a little bit more than $1 million. But
Yeah.
my guess it'll
Yeah.
be in that
Probably
ballpark.
around that,
Mhm.
I would say.
Yeah. Dima, do you know when we talk about these projects and cost and developers and the partners and everybody, it's like, I always wonder how people like you and I, who are not developers and we don't have a lot of, cash flow to go throw to become a lead partner. Like if somebody wants to get involved in something like this as a partner,
Yeah.
I wonder how, I guess maybe they go to the website
Yeah, I would say
and then maybe just start talking to,
yeah, that website again is thepaseostairs.com. But that is a good question. How do people get involved? One, get involved in this project, and how, if you have an idea, how do you start with that? And I would definitely say start talking to people. It seems to be how a lot of things come together is relationships. You may already have relationships with people in your circle who can help with an idea. I was always told if you have an idea, the first thing you do is write it down. start writing it down, start sharing it with closest people to you. And then, it's funny because I was also told not to share my ideas.
Right.
And I think that was just from people coming from a place of fear. It's like,
Yeah.
don't share your ideas or people
Yeah.
will steal them. But
Well, I think that, I mean, this is a public,
yeah, something
not
that's
for
free.
profit. Yeah, that's serving the better good of our city, and so I think that's maybe a little different than if you had a idea to like patent something
Right.
that you can make a lot of money on.
Right.
But
I definitely say reach out
Mhm.
to any of these people, Chris Good, Bruce Miller, Mercedes LeGrone. That website again, I'd say go there and start talking to people if you have ways or things that you want to ways that you want to
Mhm.
contribute. It's in the early stages, so I'm sure there's a lot of ways that people can get involved. And the website did say part of one of their phases that they're going to be entering into is community engagement and feedback. So if you have ideas to add to that, outdoor free outdoor fitness destination and multi-purpose site, if you have ideas, I think they're definitely looking to hear those ideas. If you're a neighbor to the site and you have ideas, I'm sure they're looking to hear from you. So, yeah, that's a good question.
You know, I just want to connect. There's a lot of people that I know who worked on the Work Castle a few years ago to um, get it renovated and become maybe a wedding venue or an out a garden area. A lot of people worked on that, and then that didn't happen. It didn't come to fruition for many reasons um, that we won't go into here. But um, I think it's the one thing that I know from that group of people who worked on that. Um, the friendships they formed while working on it.
Yeah,
It's so I guess when we all come together to to like actually work together to clean up to put our heart and spirit into something, and if it doesn't come to fruition it still was worth it. Like
yeah,
I just know that you can't go wrong by volunteering, and if you have money and wanted to put into that, I'm sure it will be welcome too. I'm sure they're going to have some fundraising as
yeah,
well. They just probably are not at that stage yet. But I just always, like, how do you get involved in that? So,
yeah.
but I just go to the website. Like you said, they're going to have some public hearings, and I think that's a good place to start. Um, so, what is important about this development?
Um, well, I touched on it a little bit earlier. I gravitated to this one because I think it's the perfect example of a grassroots development when we talk about grassroots development and underdog development, and it's purely a community project, like in the heart of Kansas City at a crossroad location. The site itself is historic and has history. Those really just kind of kept sticking out to me. We always hear about large developments with, multi-million, sometime $1 billion firms who just swoop in, pick a spot, they get what they want, it happens, and it's history. We hear about that every day. Um, Mainly apartments, luxury apartments. Kind of tired of hearing about luxury apartments. But this one really
We should make T-shirts with luxury apartments and a
crossing it
cross
out.
through
Yeah,
it.
no more luxury apartments. Really, I mean, really, it's just kind of like, hey, did you hear new luxury apartments? Or yeah, more okay. And the designs are just very boxy and uninspired and gray and just not fun developments. But yeah, this one stuck out. just going there with this one, man. It's just apartments are just boring now. It's just boring and more luxury. More luxury, just
And wealth concentrated in a very
yeah,
one person.
not affordable
Yeah, not affordable.
and not attractive looking at all. Sorry. Yeah, so if you're watching and
they have great amenities though.
they have great amenities and they're
Hey,
on the
listen,
bus line.
there are probably people who are living in the new luxury apartments in downtown Kansas City. Listen, we know it's a fun thing to do and it can be convenient for you. So we're not putting anybody who lives in luxury apartments down.
We're not putting you down. We're talking to developers and architects. Get more creative. If you're watching and you're wondering about your projects and you want some feedback, get more creative. You know, boxes. They're like, well, this one's an L. This one's an L. We have exposed brick. It's like a real loft.
I think we need to bring back the spirit of Charles Smith. Right?
Yeah,
it's
or Kessler and
yeah.
the French inspiration. I mean, even a lot of that at the time, a lot of that was considered luxury development, but the design was early design just seemed to be more inspired, and that's not with all development. I think that's happening. I might have came across like that, but there is a lot of development that is very boring. If we're honest, it is boring.
Yeah.
And I love this particular development because it was grassroots and it's underdog and it's free. It's for the public. It's for people. It's about health. I mean, you got people coming out volunteering and stuff like. I mean, the website, I was looking on the website, and it's like the website was being designed by a volunteer. The branding's by volunteers. You have a large architecture and design firm donating services. I mean, that doesn't really happen a lot with large firms like that, with such a large portfolio, donating their time. They've done stadiums, arenas, ballparks, and huge things. So I thought that was cool because it's a project that seems to have some heart involved in it. Not to say you're not going to find a lot of developments with people volunteering anything. So
yeah,
that's pretty cool for that to.